Film Buffering. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Film Buffering. I'm one of your hosts, Colter Harkins. I'm here with Todd Foley. And today we have a special guest, the one, the only, Andrew Johnson, very near and dear to our hearts. We're so happy to have him with us today.
Yes.
And today we are talking about The Sound of Metal.
You sound great.
Yeah, right.
What? You telling me you weren't feeling it? You were in it.
We don't need to put them all out.
I know, but we just need to film.
Your hearing is deteriorating rapidly.
We'll come back. Till then, Lou, we just keep going, okay?
No.
Lou,
No.
let's play tomorrow. Let's see what it's like, okay? I'm gonna be like a click track. You can play to me.
You have to understand, your first responsibility is to preserve the hearing you have.
I can't hear you. Do you understand me? I can't. I'm deaf. I'm deaf.
Found a place.
I think it's important that you stay here with us right now, Ruben. We're looking for a solution to this. Not this.
I need you to wait for me, okay? You're it for me, Lou. You're my heart. You're it for me, okay? You gotta wait for me. Trying to save my life.
Ruben, the world does keep moving. It can be a damn cruel place. But those moments of stillness, when this crappy, mundane world suddenly becomes radiant and magnificent. All the fear is gone. That place will never abandon you.
All right, this was my pick for the movie this week. I was super excited about it. Came out last year, was an Oscar nominee in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Don't forget about numero 6!
6 categories, ended up winning 2 Oscars for Best Sound and Best Achievement in Film Editing. It was written and directed by Darius Martyr. This is actually his first feature film, starring the one and the only Riz Ahmed. Also, we had a great supporting actor in Paul Raci, who was also nominated for this film, as well as one of my favorite young actresses right now, Olivia Cook. All right, so the concept of this movie is, or the brief synopsis of this movie is, a heavy metal drummer. His life is thrown into freefall when he begins to lose his hearing. That's the shorty and dirty of it. It's a movie about a guy who is a drummer in a small band. It's just him and his girlfriend. Then he is afflicted with a mysterious disease. We never actually find out what it is. Starts to lose his hearing and begins his process of figuring out what is most important in his life and how to cope with losing the thing that he cares the most about. It deals with addiction and deals with a lot of heavy topics. It is an R-rated film, but not a very unfamily-friendly film. I think it's definitely a very good watch. Todd, what is your initial thoughts? What did you think of this movie?
Man, I thought it was great in almost every way, shape, or form. I mean, it was very simple. It was very wasn't a lot of like crazy special effects or anything. I thought Riz was just excellent in that role. I really liked. I mean, the characters all felt real. It almost felt like a documentary feel in some parts of it when he's at the center trying to like cope with losing his hearing. Props to all the actors who just came through with a very real feeling movie. It moved me. It was heartfelt. I like it.
He's the best. Love it.
And Andrew, welcome to the show. Your thoughts?
Thank you. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. I think a few things kind of popped out to me going into it because I kind of knew the idea of the plot and that he would lose his hearing and all that. And I think what really kind of struck me was how all the performances, especially his, were so kind of understated and very subtle. Because before I even watched it, I was just like, oh man, this guy's losing his hearing. He's a musician. He's going to be going nuts and freaking out. It's going to be over the top drama. But all that really, it felt like, to his credit and the director, I'm sure it was all very internalized. And it really just came across in such an interesting way that I think what you both have kind of said about the realness of it, it came across just through the subtleties, and I dug it.
Yeah, I'd say I coming into it, I was immediately intrigued just by the concept of it. I really like Riz Ahmed as an actor. He's just knocking everything out of the park that I've seen him in, from small roles to he's getting more kind of lead type roles, but just a really talented actor with a lot of range. Plays a lot more kind of from the few big parts that I've seen him in, or bigger roles that I've seen him in, just kind of the nerdy type or something kind of in that like side character, to see him take on this really meaty role and learning how to drum, doing all this work that he put into this role. It really paid off. And just it was believable throughout the whole thing. I mean, it was well deserving of that best performer in a lead role in this film. He was just phenomenal with the depth of the character, the anger and the frustration, and then finding the ways to cope and feel authentic. That scene that they used in I don't know if you guys watch the Oscars, but the scene of him trying to get the money back so he can buy his van was just so gut wrenching. Just to see this guy who's dealing with addiction and dealing with this additional loss and having to be away from his girlfriend. So he just kind of loses everything in the course of this film, and seeing him cope with that and trying to come to terms with it, it just felt so authentic and so just really pulls on your heartstrings without feeling disingenuous in any way. It didn't feel like it was a grab or trying to be this Oscar bait film. It felt like a real authentic dive into this material and this character. Definitely have to obviously talk about the sound and editing, the two categories that won the Oscars for top notch. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I listened to it with headphones in, and what an experience. It just really took me into the way that they use the sound, that without being over the top. Again, they used it to highlight without making it just about the way that this guy can't hear anything. You still go in and out of that, but it felt perfectly orchestrated. It was really, really well done.
Yeah. What you said there, I completely agree that they did it in a way that you felt so tense. Like when he first started to lose it, oh my God, like my heart completely dropped. But then what they did that I really enjoyed is they would still transition back and forth. They didn't just kind of drag you through it with him. I think the intent wasn't to like brutalize the audience.
Artesta's in the stands. Oh, this is awful. Fans are getting involved.
With all of the struggle that he was going through, I guess, if that makes sense. But you still, through the transitioning back and forth, got a feel for that. And then, in the end, him kind of not getting what he thought would be the solution and the resolution with the implants that he got. It was just absolutely heartbreaking. And I love how that all kind of tied into this theme, at least that I kind of gathered, of acceptance, about, you want the quick shortcut.
A shortcut!
Be the first to the castle to win!
Yes!
Welcome! You won the game! Candyland!
It's nothing, but then you kind of have to just accept life, really. I think that, for me, that was like seemed like a theme of this movie, just accepting it. And then right at the very end, you see him take the implants out and just kind of accept, the reality. So, yeah.
Oh man, such power in silence. When there have been a couple times in a movie where they really use silence to highlight something and just really tear your heart out, and it was that, and then it couples at the end when you get this sense of relief. I mean, it was just such a really great way to use the dichotomy of the overwhelming sound and the silence to really put you in the right space.
Yeah. And kind of this idea that he was, he's running from his former self, I guess, in a very loud way. And all this, and then all the scenes where he's like sitting alone and writing, you see kind of like that's the real struggle, is him dealing with himself, not necessarily the obvious issue of his hearing, but like, who am I ultimately? So, and I just like right at the end when he was like satisfied with the silence and ultimately with himself, I just was like, just cried. Like, baby.
It's great, but I'm not crying. I'm not a crier. I don't cry. I work out.
Todd, what did you think about the writing of the film?
Well, I mean, this is coming from me, obviously the most qualified of all of us to speak about any kind of the production value, since I haven't been tainted by Hollywood. So, no, man, like I said, it just felt very real. All the conversations, I thought, especially like with Joe, like the dude running the place, I thought that guy was awesome. It felt like you were going to check out what this rehab clinic was about. It didn't feel like you were going to, it didn't feel like I was watching a movie. It was like, oh, these are real people trying to do real things, because it's like, they're just talking about life, talking about, giving tattoo ideas to each other. Yeah, it was just very, once again, it didn't feel like a film for me almost.
I think along with that, like they didn't try to like jam a ton of content in script wise.
Me think, why waste time? Say lot word when few word do trick.
And they just wanted like kind of stuff to feel a little more organic and natural and kind of have room to breathe. So it wasn't like how much, dialogue can we get in? It almost felt like, not like underwritten, I don't know if that's a thing, but like very intentionally like about the feeling, not so much what was being said, which was cool.
And I like that they didn't, you didn't get an introduction to the characters hardly at all prior. It was kind of like you were just learning who they were as all of this unfolded. It was like you kind of came in as a stranger to the situation rather than being like, in a world where this guy's a drummer and, meet his whole freaking family and everything. It was, I thought that was very cool.
Yeah, it was, because I think this is Darius Marder's second film. The first was a documentary. I was just looking at him, and he's more of a writer. He did direct a documentary film before this, so I think he really did use that experience of the documentary kind of style and the way that he approached this material, because like you've been saying, Todd, it felt like we were just inside of this life, as opposed to it's this well crafted and everything is so artistic. It felt like we're just watching this guy go through an experience, and the way that he learns to cope and deal with people and lose a part of his life and gain so much more. It was really well done. For a first time director, really good handle on the material, really well written. I do like, I don't know if you guys have also watched, or our audience, I should say as well, watched Place Beyond the Pines, but it had a really similar feel to that, which I feel like he took from his co-writer, Derek Cianfrance. He really took that, the color palette and the use of quiet performances and the subtlety and all that. He really took the best parts of that film and then put it into another great story.
Yeah.
And just so enjoyable to watch. It was amazing how engaged you can be in a film where so little can happen and nothing like impressive in the way. I'm sure if you sat down and read the script, you'd be like, oh, okay, well, that's okay.
Yeah.
It seems like a nice story, but it wasn't anything that blows you away. But then you see the execution. It's so well done. The thing that kind of surprised me too was going into this movie, I thought it was going to be a lot more like big concert experience or something like that. Like this, like coming at it without, I mean, having seen the trailer for it, I thought it was going to be this big musical experience, but it was a part of it, but it wasn't all just big show concert, or it wasn't like a Star is Born or something like that, where it's all about the music. It really is about a guy having an experience. So it was a little bit almost of a misnomer, I think, of a title, but I think in the end, it was so well executed.
I have to point this out just because it is like the number one pet peeve that I have with any film, TV, anything like that. People playing instruments, my gosh, like you can just really tell when they don't know how to play the instrument. I don't know how many times I've seen this in a commercial or something where it's like
1877 cars for kids, KARS cars for kids.
Doodle-doo, and it's like, you don't know what you're doing. But he, I think I read that he had like 6 months or something to prep for this, and he was slapping some skins. Like, I have no doubt that what they had him playing for those songs and stuff, I have no doubt that he could sit down and rock that out like no problem. It felt real, like real drumming without being forced. So, I mean, he is a musician, though, so I guess that kind of is a benefit. He's familiar, but I was just like, yes, finally, one time an actor looks like they know how to play the instrument. So,
I mean, I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that because I know you're a guitarist, a drummer, etc. You know, so I mean, just and
yeah.
That
dude, I went in there ready to be so critical. I'm like, oh, movie about a metal drummer.
I'm quietly judging you.
You know, watching, but I was like, yeah, he was getting it. And I mean, it helps too that he's just like yoked out of his mind. Maybe I was just looking at his muscles, but whatever. For being what is so stereotypical of like Academy Award nominee and winning film, like I think a very common thing is you go for like the sadness. You know, it's going to be a sad script. It's going to be heart wrenching. You know, that's what the people want to latch onto. Drama wise, but this one really didn't like rake you over the coals with it. I loved it. There was always a sense of optimism and that he would turn the corner.
Yeah, I think I would definitely agree with that. I was like worried at the beginning that I was like, oh man, this is going to take me to the dark place for sure.
It's going to be Requiem for a Dream all over again.
Yeah, but I thought one of the ways they maintained that really well was just him interacting like with the kids. And I thought that was kind of a cool way to just show like, hey, he's going back to square one in terms of communication. Like he's like a child pretty much learning how to speak again. And I just thought, as he built that relationship with the kids, you could tell the kids really enjoyed him being around, and he was kind of, I don't know, maybe getting in touch with his inner child or something. I thought that was moving for me anyhow. And then especially that scene where that one kid's acting out and he takes him outside and they're drumming on the slide together. Man, that was maybe my favorite scene. Like, and also Sound of Metal slide. So
whoa.
We don't want to overlook her too much, but Olivia Cook as the girlfriend, she wasn't in it throughout the film, but great performance overall. She just brings such a depth to her characters and an authenticity. But another great performance in the film that I don't think she got a lot of highlight or credit for, but really, really well done. Also, the ensemble cast, all the people that they brought in, I'm assuming a lot of people out of the deaf community and deaf actors. Paul Racy's really involved with that, so I'm sure they kind of utilized him. But so many great just ensemble performances that just added so much to the whole overall feel of it, and the interactions just brought such a humanity to the overall. I was just really impressed by everybody involved in it.
I think part of it too, like I think I mentioned this earlier, but just the idea of like acceptance and kind of this idea of like we just day to day kind of take a lot of stuff for granted, you know, don't even think about something like that, and then to kind of have to see somebody go through this journey, it kind of made me think about just like everything, and I was just like, oh man, like there is so much to be grateful for, I guess, if that's a theme or a point of this movie. But also just the idea of acceptance, like you mentioned, Todd, with them saying, you know, it's not a disability. I think in a way they were trying to say, like, you know, don't hide from who you are, you know, and the reality of any situation, I guess. You know, life is life. Can you hear the trash trucks picking up in the background right now?
Yes, but it's not that bad.
Sound of metal.
Just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber, you go and do something like this. And totally redeem yourself!
Right there. That's great timing.
All right. Well, on that note, let us give it our rating. Todd, we'll start with you. What are you giving it? How many thumbs out of 10?
You know, man, it wasn't my favorite movie of all time, and that's the only reason I'm not giving it 10. So I'm giving it 9.5, we'll say. And yeah, it was unbelievable. But, you know, there are other movies I enjoy more, but killer.
All right, Andrew, your first time. How many thumbs out of 10 are you giving this film?
Geez. I mean, my first time here, I don't want to like jump the gun and go too high, because then, you know, if we end up watching like Spaceballs or something, you know, I have to give it a 10, you know, or whatever.
There are a few perfect films. Spaceballs, probably.
I don't even know why I said Spaceballs, but
yeah, obvious 10s.
I mean, there's really nothing specifically to nitpick, and anything that I would have against it would just be about maybe it's not like my ideal style of film to watch or anything like that. So I'm going to give it a solid 8 out of 10.
All right. I'm going to say I agree with Todd. There are no perfect films, but I would say there's not a lot you can knock this one for. It's well worth the time. It's worth the watch. If you have a good sound system or use some good headphones to listen to, because it is an experience if you haven't watched it already. I'm going to give it 9 out of 10 thumbs up. Great film. Well worth the time. All right. Thanks everyone for joining us for another episode. We appreciate you spending time with us. And next week, tune in for a review of our first non-R-rated film. We're going to be checking out Togo.
Intelligence, stamina, courage, and heart.
Run, puppy! Run!
My business is dogs.
He's undersized.
He's trouble.
Well, good afternoon.
He's untrainable. Stop that!
What does he bring to the breed?
The heart of a survivor.
He outran every single one of them. He's not a sled dog. He's a lead dog.
What we have in our children is an epidemic. It's a death sentence.
They found a cure.
Round trip is 600 miles. You see that storm on the horizon? Only one man and one dog can make that run.
He's 12 years old. He's too old. He'll never make that distance.
Got one more in you, pup.
My guess is we don't find him till the thaw.
All right, Togo. Time for us to find out who we are. I always thought he lived for the sled. When all along, what he lived for was me. I got it, Togo!
I'm excited for that one.
Looking forward to it. I haven't watched a good dog movie in a long time. Dang.
Because it's a dog movie, it's going to be more sad than any R-rated film.
It's going to be even more sad than Sound of Metal.
Let's hope for the best.
All right. We'll see you next week, everybody. Have a good week.
Hey, thank you to Andrew for hopping in on this thing with us,
of course.
too.
Ooh. Yeah,
it's great to see you, buddy.
Film buff. Erring.